Welcome! It's Ashley from Demystifying Your Health. I'm so glad you're joining me today. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the cold versus the flu. Obviously, most people know what these are and have either had one or the other at some point in their life, or even both. But it can be hard to tell them apart. So how do you know if you're having symptoms of a cold or symptoms of the flu? Well, let's find out, and let's also talk about some ways that you can obviously treat either one of these or prevent it. There's no question that colds and the flu are very similar when it comes to symptoms. This is what makes it so hard to tell them apart. However, there are a few key differences. When it comes to colds, it usually starts with a sore throat that lasts a couple of days. Next, you're going to have some form of nasal symptom. Usually it starts with a runny nose that has clear, watery secretions. And then over the next couple of days, it's going to get to where those secretions are thicker and darker in color, usually like a dark green or a dark yellow. And this is the normal progression of a cold. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a sinus infection, it just means that your cold's following the typical course. And after about the 4th or 5th day, you might start developing a cough. And this is normal as well. It's not normal for adults to have a fever, although this is common in children. And you're contagious for about the first 3 days. And you'll feel better in about a week. Versus the flu, the symptoms are much more severe and they come on suddenly and all together. So you can have a sore throat, headache, nasal congestion, cough, fever, and muscle soreness and aching. And it's important to note that the fever and muscle soreness and aching are the two key distinguishers here. You're going to have those with the flu, whereas you're not going to have those with a cold. So if you have both of those or either one of those, that's a good indication you probably have the flu. And while you'll start to feel better in about 2 to 5 days, you can actually feel run down for a week or more. So this is why you'll know you have the flu, because you're going to be sicker longer. The symptoms are going to be a little bit more intense, and you're more likely to have a fever and muscle soreness than you will if you have a cold. Usually with the flu, a lot of people describe it as feeling the most tired they've ever felt in their life, and it's just an overall more intense illness than a cold. When it comes to treating a cold or the flu, it's pretty much the same. So this is going to make it easy to understand what you need to do. It's important to note that both of these are usually caused by a virus. So this means antibiotics don't work, because antibiotics only work on bacteria, not viruses. So the whole goal of the treatment of either a cold or the flu is to manage symptoms. So you can do this in a couple of different ways. Obviously, if you have nasal secretions and nasal congestion, the main thing is to take decongestants. And this you want to do for either a cold or the flu. For those who have muscle aches and soreness and a fever, which is usually what accompanies the flu, you're going to want to take medicine to reduce these. Usually these are the same medicines, such as acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, or ibuprofen, which is Advil. And then for those who have the flu, you can take antivirals, which are helpful in reducing the length of time that you are actually feeling sick. But the key thing here is you have to get a prescription from your doctor, and they are most effective if they're taken within 36 to 72 hours of you starting to feel sick. And even though if you do take them, sometimes they don't always work. So it's important to take them early if you're going to take them, but bear in mind that they might not be as effective as you're hoping for them to be. And then the other big thing, besides taking medicine, is you want to drink plenty of water. When your body's sick, it goes through a lot of water and you can end up dehydrated. This is particularly true if you have a fever. So by drinking water, you're helping prevent your body from being dehydrated. It's also important to eat healthy, nutritious food, which often when you're sick, you just don't really feel like doing that. But you need to give your body nutrients so that way it can help heal. So make sure you're drinking plenty of water and eating healthy, in addition to taking medicine to make you feel better. Obviously, no one wants to get sick with a cold or the flu. So there are some key things here that you can do to prevent this from happening. Number one thing, and this is the big one, wash your hands. You gotta wash them. So you want to do this by rubbing your hands with warm, soapy water for at least 20 seconds. And this is about the length of time it takes to sing happy birthday twice. So when you're in the bathroom, you can sing out loud if you really want to, but people might think you're a little weird. But usually recommend singing at least in your head, washing your hands, as you're doing it, sing happy birthday twice to yourself, and then that way you know you've washed them for the correct length of time. You want to make sure you're doing the backs of your hands, your thumbs, your fingernails, everything. You want to really get it in there and work up to a good lather. This is going to get rid of all those germs. So this is key. Next big thing is staying away from individuals who are visibly sick. Obviously, if you're out and about and someone's coughing and sneezing, that's a good indication that they're probably not feeling well. So try to stay away from them. Also, if you're sick, stay home. Don't go out in public. Don't go to work. Otherwise, you're now passing that on to someone else. You can do your part to prevent it. And then you also want to get the flu shot annually. I know there's people, some are like, it's not effective. Well, part of the time, it all depends on what the calculate is, what the flu shot needs. And they do this based off of a bunch of different data as far as what was, the prevalent strain the previous year, what was the prevalent strain in the Southern Hemisphere, because obviously they have different seasons than we do. And then they try to create the correct formula for that particular year. Sometimes it's more effective than others, but still, by getting the flu shot, it might not necessarily reduce your chance completely of getting the flu, but it can reduce the length of time that you feel sick and the severity of your symptoms. And I mean, who wants to be sick at all, but who wants to be sick for any length of time and how sick that you can actually get? So this is why the flu shot's so important. It's because not only will it could obviously work really well and prevent you from getting sick in the first place, but if you do get sick, it's going to make you less likely to be as sick severely, and also the length of time you're sick. So by following these steps, hopefully you prevent yourself from getting the flu or a cold, and then you don't have to worry about dealing with it. No one wants to have a cold or the flu. Unfortunately, though, sometimes it just happens, despite your best efforts to prevent it. The good news is you will get better. Thank you for joining me today. Please share, like, subscribe. I'd appreciate it if you have any questions, reach out to me, any comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Otherwise, until next time, stay healthy.